synced up.
I know it's all synced up, but you want to do the clap?
Do the clap, Mateo.
Okay, I get to do the clap. All right, hold on. No. We're synced.
Did that make you feel better?
Yeah.
We were synced already.
It gives me a feeling of security. So I'm not going to quibble about that.
It's like tying your shoes before a cross-country race. Gives you a sense of security.
You know, I ran like the ones that had like the little bungee.
Oh, you would.
Yeah, I would. Merrells.
I have a pair of
those.
Merrells.
Nice.
Yeah, those are my filmmaking shoes for when I'm not wearing Vans.
I had the like the Vibram Soul Merrells. I don't think they make them anymore. I switched over to New Balance It was like kind of like New Balance Minimus, but it was Merrells. And then I switched to the Minimus.
Are these like tennis shoes?
No, they are
Flats?
trail runners.
Oh, okay.
Which was great for cross country. I used them for a marathon for some godforsaken reason, and it just destroyed my knees.
Yeah. Speaking of running, been running a lot.
Yeah.
And it's been pretty good.
I really haven't been running since like June. I took July off.
That's fair, actually. In September, we should start a running club officially in the fall.
Okay. I'm going to be the slowest there.
You won't be the slowest at all.
Don't test me.
You're a good runner.
I was a good runner.
Yeah, but you still have like the natural talent side. Like you'll have to build up your aerobic base.
Yeah.
But that'll take a week. Literally 1 to 2 weeks.
It's taken me 2 weeks generally.
One is optimistic. 2 weeks.
Yeah. I don't know. I'll run a mile and I'm just wheezing. And I'm like, no, I ran that mile pretty well, but I'm like, why is my side hurting? It didn't used to do this after 1 mile.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just...
There's a lot of reasons for that.
Part of it is my lungs just have not been the same since 2021.
That's fair.
So, whatever. Take it or leave it.
So how fast are you running these miles? No, I mean, if you're worn out
I want to say I was doing like... I ran one and then I run up to like the park. Mm-hmm. And that's a roughly 1 and then I run back. So I do about a 2 mile stint. Mm-hmm. And I'm like still like... I'm not hitting that that you hit the wall, you're like, oh, I'm a little bit worn out, and then you just kind of get into your stride and go, I'm just not getting my stride. It's bad.
You'll get there.
Yeah, I'm just wheezing. Just
if I can become a distance runner, you can become a distance. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. You can become one again.
Well, we'll see.
We'll see.
Well, I do have a question for you, Zach.
Yeah.
Within the general indie film scene, maybe amateur film scene, we'll give you that too. Kind of widen the net a little bit. What is your least favorite trend right now?
So you're gonna really like this. I have a problem with style over substance. And so I didn't really think about this in this way until I watched Pi by Darren Aronofsky.
Oh gosh.
With you for the first time, which was really fun. We watched this film in the midst of shooting our own feature film because we had a 2-hour break.
We'll get to that later.
Oh yeah. But in watching this film, beautiful film. There was so much that I loved about it. And this is a classic film. I don't want to start this. I really should have picked...
Pi is really, really good.
I know, I should have picked a different example. But the overexposure and the choice of film stock, I just felt like it didn't help the story. It felt like a style over substance kind of thing. Now, we can disagree with regards to this particular film. But I find, especially in kind of the YouTube filmmaker world, people that are putting out work, but maybe they have less experience doing traditional narrative films, and they're stretching their legs by making things in that style, but they're still very much YouTube videos. Mm-hmm. I find that they often tend to be style over substance in a lot of cases. They're trying to be impressive. They're putting elements into their projects just because they feel like it. And to me, it comes across as a bit indulgent. It doesn't really help the story. They're just this is cool, let's do it. And it's just yeah, that's cool. But it actually took me out of the story. So it didn't help you. It didn't help me. It didn't help immerse me as a viewer.
I do think that you are kind of in the minority of it immersing you as a viewer because you are a very particular sort of filmmaker who thinks about that. While most viewers are like, oh, that's pretty. And that actually brings them deeper into it. Mm-hmm. But I will say, and Wes Anderson does not count in this. Wes Anderson does style perfectly, and his substance is perfect. He doesn't need to change anything. But overall, I do feel that there has been a bloom of like very pretty films that mean nothing. There was what's his face, that kid that went to Yale. It was like Wesley Wang, something like that. He put out a very like narratively empty film that's just a lot of very, very pretty shots. That inspired a lot of people, but there's nothing really there.
There's definitely room for art that is just beautiful, that's not trying to say anything special or unique. But when it comes to filmmaking specifically, it is about telling a story, and it is supposed to be more than just, I guess you could say, the sum of its parts. The beauty of filmmaking for me is all of these different elements coming together, theater and music and visual storytelling to tell a story. And I find that when a filmmaker leans too heavily into like any given aspect at the expense of like the primary goal, which is to tell a good story, it just loses me. Like I don't find that I get immersed in the elements of the film as much as I get immersed in like the story and wondering what's going to happen next and that sort of thing. Which it's weird to me that you're not the same way because you're a writer. I feel like you would care more about the narrative strength of the film versus the elements.
There comes a time as a writer where like I'll watch a movie and I'm just tracing my hands on the frameworks of the film underneath. And sometimes a film just should be about nothing, and that's okay. And there's like artistically, like it's making a statement even by doing that. There are some David Lynch films where you come out at the end and you're like, what was that about? And David Lynch is like, I like stories. And it's like, okay, like.
So for me, what the story is about and then the meaning behind the story are two different things. So if I am not being immersed in the moment to moment story, the plot.
Okay. So you're talking like very much like plot.
I'm not talking about theme. Mm-hmm. I'm totally comfortable not knowing what a film is about, but I need something to latch onto. I need something to keep me invested, whether it's the journey of a character or the progression of events, one way or another.
I'd be interested to see where you rank True Stories by, I believe it's David Byrne. True Story. It's got David Byrne in it. I forget if he straight up directed it or if he had a co-director. I forget how that worked. But it's a film that's about nothing in particular as far as plot even. Mm-hmm. It's a very meandering plot that it's connecting to a much wider, again, framework. Mm-hmm. So it is saying something, but it's definitely...
I'm okay with that.
It's definitely like very, very style over substance if you want to look at it a certain way. So it'd be interesting to see your thoughts on it.
So when I say style over substance as a bad thing, we did our third episode, I believe, which feels like an eternity ago, our politics and film episode. Mm-hmm. You had described sort of on the nose political moments and themes in films as something that you sometimes stub your toe on.
Yeah.
And so I am seeing this from the perspective of sometimes the style, when it's not there to serve the story, is something I stub my toe on.
Okay.
Even if I like the style.
Yeah. Okay.
I can say that's beautiful and cool.
I'll take that.
But it took me out of it for just a moment. Okay. Like the overexposure in Pi.
See, that was something that brought me into the world.
Interesting.
So we can obviously disagree, but I do get your point there, and I wouldn't say I wholly disagree.
Right. So to pass it on to you, what the hell was the question?
What annoys you about current indie filmmaking?
Right. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So I was watching, and disclaimer, this is like a larger trend within, especially again, YouTube filmmaking, and this came from, I think he was like a 17-year-old kid when we were in a festival together. And the film is very well regarded by everybody that was giving it like awards. So I'm not here to be the critic there. I will be a critic because that's what I do in my day-to-day blogging about film. But like, very nice kid. He did a really good job on the film.
It was certainly better than anything I made at 17.
Yeah, it was definitely like, it deserved its laurels just for the fact that it came from a 17-year-old. But watching it, it's one of those films, and I see it all the time now, where it's just like, the most of the film is just kind of talking smartly at the camera. It's somebody who's watched too much Noah Baumbach, something like that. I don't know what it's somebody who watched like Me and Earl and the Dying Girl, which is a great film, by the way. And is just like, well, now I have to make all my movies like this, where I'm like, there's like a monologue, or like the main character like snaps around and looks at the camera and is like, I'm going to talk about life and angst and what it's like to be a teenager. And they're basically making like a narrative Casey Neistat video.
And you're not just saying that, the style of the film.
No, it's very much like the snaps, just like Casey Neistat vlogs were. And as a style, it's definitely compelling. It gets people's attention. This kid won a lot of awards with it, and I'm not going to hate on that. But at the same time, it's kind of like a plague on narrative film. I just keep seeing it. That Wesley Wang movie that I was talking about a second ago also has that problem. It's everywhere, and I'm noticing it more and more in this kind of next generation of filmmakers.
You know what I think it is? I think it's a bit unfair to throw that into a kind of made up category that we've made, which is the YouTube filmmaker category.
It's across like indies.
But you know what it is it's retention editing. It's editing and structuring your film in a way that increases engagement, but it's not engaging you because it's worth engaging you. It's just like faster cuts to keep you from getting bored. It's not because you're invested in what's going on. It's not because you care about the characters. It's not because the writing's particularly good or the visuals are particularly good. It's almost superficially keeping you engaged.
Interesting.
Like a lot of YouTube videos. So you could say it's like a YouTube filmmaker thing, but it's really
it's beyond that. Again, like this kid was doing pretty well in an indie filmmakers festival.
Right.
I've seen it in features. Lisa Frankenstein does like a little bit of it. Not enough, but like a little bit of it. And I have my own problems with Lisa Frankenstein's writing, but it's neither here nor there. But speaking of movies we've seen, etc., etc., Zach, what's something that's inspired you this week creatively?
Yeah. So I watch a lot of YouTube videos, which is, actually a better segue than you probably thought. And there's this new YouTube channel, definitely a YouTube filmmaker, but I think he's doing like really, really good work.
Okay.
So the name of the YouTube channel is Ultra Sharp, and he's a filmmaker, clearly very talented, but he sometimes will do videos that are just stories, usually starring himself. And he has a video called You Can Make an A24 Film About Absolutely Anything. And it's just this thriller about like a toaster. And it's beautifully shot. It nails the tone of like an A24 film trailer perfectly. And it's got that. I realized when I was watching it, I'm like, the one thing that summarizes the A24 brand more than anything is absurdism. It's a very absurdism-centered brand, at least with its approach to its human characters and various things. And it just nailed that. It nailed that like insanity, which doesn't necessarily lend itself to absurdism, but the absurd characters were really great, and it was really interesting. So I'll leave a link to that in the description, but it's like a 5-minute video, definitely worth a watch. Cinematic masterpiece as far as YouTube videos go. And that just really inspired me with regards to what's possible in, a very small amount of time with no budget at all.
Yeah.
Using gear that you just have. It was pretty good.
I'll have to check it out.
Yeah, you should.
I think you actually sent it to me, and I was probably doing.
I send you other things.
Yeah,
who knows?
You send me a bunch of stuff. I send you a bunch of stuff. Well, personally, I watched Hundreds of Beavers.
I've never heard of this film.
I only watched it Monday. It is so it's a silent film. It still has like all the like the sound design, but there's just no spoken dialogue. There's little bits like mush. They'll say like mush. I'll explain why in a second, or random expletives. It's very much like Shaun the Sheep, where everybody kind of and grunts and
like a Minecraft villager.
Yeah, almost like a Minecraft villager. But it's basically a black and white semi-silent film done by these guys in like Michigan and Wisconsin about a fur trapper going after beavers and rabbits to win the hand of like a fur trader's daughter. Except it's done in this like kind of almost like 07 Jib Jab. Remember when you could like upload your faces to like the Jib Jab website and they'd like put it on pre-animated like elves or whatever. It was like
I don't know
a big
about
thing
this
for like Christmas cards. like in like 2011 or whatever, is you just upload faces to Jib Jab and do that. But it's like very kind of
I've never heard of this.
very scrappy CGI that it's kind of bad, and then like you takes you a second to get into it, and once you get into it, you're 100% charmed and delighted.
Huh.
It's very fun. All the, like the beavers and rabbits are just like people in mascot costumes, and it's based on, I think it was like based on like Paper Mario, or it was based on a
Weird.
Mario game.
That's
like,
so random.
yeah, like he'll like kill a beaver with like a log or like some like random contraption, and then like there'll be like a little like icon of like a beaver's head, and then like the ticker goes up to 1 or 2 or whatever.
It sounds bizarre.
It's bizarre. It's kind of surrealist. It's really, really funny. It's a slapstick film, but it's probably in my top 5 movies I've seen this year.
Wow.
And I saw Monkey Man, I saw Challengers, and I saw Dune 2. So
I'll definitely have to watch
Yeah.
that. That's
highly,
crazy.
highly suggested if you can go to a showing.
Mhm.
It's really, really good.
So were you saying that it took you a while to like suspend your disbelief and kind
It
of
took me
get into it?
Maybe 5, not even 5, maybe 3 minutes. There's the opening, and I'm like, okay, that's interesting. They're doing kind of like a weird CG thing here. And then they keep doing it. And then like stuff keeps happening. But you know, he's like, about the time he's like casting his hook into some water, and like a fully knitted fish puppet comes through, I'm like, oh, okay, I see.
Your brain has calibrated to
Yeah,
this
it's
style.
like calibrated to like it's not like cheap CGI in the way that like some people do cheap CGI, where it's just like they could only afford to do this. It's cheap CGI in a way that's like, oh, like kind of like the Sin City CGI, you know, where it's like, oh, okay, this is like part of the entire world, and it's now like drawing me into it rather than taking me out of it.
Interesting. Yeah, I'll have to give that a watch.
Inspired me creatively just to like do like weird stuff, because
Yeah.
it's totally out there.
And like push yourself to do
Yeah.
things that you aren't comfortable with, like CGI and
And it was made on like a very low budget. It's again like a Michigan, Wisconsin area indie thing, but I'm really into it.
very cool. We'll have to watch it.
Yeah, for sure.
You kind of screen the films for me, and then the ones that are the best are the ones we watch together.
I don't rewatch films unless I'm rewatching them with a person. So it'll be like, oh, Zach, you haven't seen like Goodfellas or whatever. I'm like, well, let's watch Goodfellas because I love Goodfellas, but I can't like,
You can't justify watching
I
it by
can't
yourself
justify watching it by myself because I'm like, well, I could be watching something else new and cool.
that you haven't seen.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. Well, speaking of indie films and indie features, we are working on our feature film right
Yeah.
now. How do you feel about that?
Well, so we're about halfway through right now. We've done a lot of the tedious stuff. I feel like
In
you
some
were,
sense.
you were going insane in my study as we were like setting up, taking shots. I would change into a new costume, do something basically the same as the last one because repetition is built into the film.
Mhm. A lot of our films have that, actually.
Yeah, a lot of our films have that. Welcome to having no budget and few locations.
True.
Right now, like compared to how I was feeling about it 2 weeks ago, I'm feeling fantastic.
I am too. I'm genuinely shocked with some of the results from like, I sent you some screenshots.
Oh yeah, I'm really really pleased with that. But frankly, our sets have always been pretty good, except for 14 hours in the same house where I was going crazy because somebody spent 2 hours on lighting
Fair enough.
for one shot.
And it was pretty simple.
It was
Lighting.
it ended up being very simple, but we spent a lot of time on it. But like we've wasted time on sets. I've gone crazy on my own sets that I was directing on because actors who were supposed to be wearing suits showed up in basketball shorts.
As it goes.
As it goes, lots of stuff happens. I was very surprised that like now that we're in the groove of things, that it's going so smoothly.
Yeah.
Knock on wood.
My coffee table is just out of frame. Yeah, so just for context, the main, I guess, premise of the film revolves around the main character played by you.
Oh yeah. I'm acting in it, which will be a
Which is a
separate talking point.
whole nother
about
level
that
to this.
experience.
But a lot of the scenes involve you waking up in your study and then like plugging back in.
Yeah.
Because this character goes dream diving and has this whole setup very much in the vein of Inception, where he plugs in and basically
Or the Matrix.
he can induce like a dreamlike
Yeah.
state.
Lucid dreaming.
And he does this over and over and over again. And so I started to go crazy about the 8th time that we were doing it, because the shots started to have very little to differentiate themselves from each other, and I just felt stuck. I was in film purgatory for at least a few hours.
We had basically 3 shoot days of just doing my study.
Yeah, basically.
We had some like bedroom setups in between then, but it was basically here he is again, he's in the exact same spot. We're doing we could do a match cut, super cut of just all the times I'm like waking up.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a little tedious, but at the same time, the actual shoot days went really smoothly.
Yeah. Even though we were exhausted going into them.
Yeah.
And, you've been crazy busy with work.
Yeah, I've had some 12-hour days on work, and that's like insane.
I've been able to ease up on my workload a little bit because I was doing daily uploads on my YouTube channel. And I don't want to talk about this for too long, but it was actually hurting my channel growth. My videos were getting less views on average because I was just flooding YouTube with my videos, and there's only so many subscribers that I have that are willing to watch, they're only willing to watch so many videos. So that wasn't really working for me. And so now I'm back to doing like one a week. And so I've allowed myself to be less stressed with my workload. But then again, on day 3, I had run a 10K right before the shoot, and it was like limping into your house, like ready for the shoot.
How's it going? Day 1 of the shoot was very much like, it was pretty charismatic.
Yeah.
Because we were shooting in a city at 1 a.m. and there was all this fun lighting, all these fun buildings. It was really like, we were really giving it the beans. And then we immediately go into, 4 days of brown carpet, basically.
Yeah, basically.
And it was
gray carpet.
Yeah.
Because it's a black and white film.
Yeah, it's gray, so. But it was a challenge from that angle. And I was having to change in and out of the same costumes over and over again as we'd get pickup shots for different days and everything.
For me, it was kind of a relief getting into
an air-conditioned space.
Well, that too. Although the weather was nice on day 1 when we were
true.
shooting outdoors at night. But for day 2, 3, and 4, we did 4 days, right? In total.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for day 2, 3, and 4 that were all at your house, I felt like I really settled into the groove with the film project. And I'm sure you would agree on some level. But for me, I really got a grasp of the visual style of the film. And I didn't quite have that on day 1. Now, I don't think that impacted the results, but it does impact my confidence about the project. Because now
day 1 was charismatic enough that it really, like, you could do what you wanted with the visual style. Day 2, on the other hand, like, you really had to struggle for that, and I could see that you were doing your best.
Oh, really?
Yeah, just in my room.
In a bad way?
No, like there were several times that you would get a setup, and then you'd be like, this isn't working, and you'd reset. Even for like, there's a scene where I wake up in a bed, and I'm like, I'm doing my thing, and you're like, hold on, and you pull back, you get a different shot, and it looks really good, and I'm glad that we did that. But I was like, okay, we're solidifying things here. Before it was like, there's so many great like angles that we can get. And here you're very much constrained by my house.
Right. I actually prefer that. Some of my favorite scenes to shoot are interior daytime and interior nighttime shots, because I feel like I have way more control over the lighting and stuff. And
can I interest you in documentary filmmaking?
I am down. I've done a couple documentaries for what they're worth. Did you ever see the Airsoft one I did?
Yeah, that was a long time ago.
It was only 2018.
Only 2018? Are you serious?
Yeah,
it feels
still
like
6 years ago.
2015 or something.
Yeah.
Well.
Yeah.
That was not as long of a time ago as I thought it was.
Still a while ago. But I felt like I wouldn't completely disagree that, like, yeah, it was a struggle to kind of get going on day 2, but day 3 and 4, I heard you say this as well. Like, we just felt like we were just getting stuff out.
Oh yeah.
It was really creative. It flowed a lot better.
There was a point where I wrote the film, and I've kind of done like my half of it, but there was a point where I felt that we would like hit a bit where we were like, okay, we've gotten a bunch of like really standard shots. We're going to go crazy if we don't get something that's kind of off the wall. And you started to really like push yourself on the setups, because how many shots of me laying on the floor do we really need?
Right.
Asleep. You started to like improvise with things that I feel like if we had had a more charismatic set of circumstances. You would have just been like, oh yeah, let's get a very standard shot because we have like a car doing a burnout in the next, scene or whatever, and we can really focus on wowing the audience there. You're like, I have to make this interesting.
Also for my own sanity.
Yeah, also for your own sanity. That was refreshing because I was like, okay, we're really starting to evolve. We've already learned the techniques to get us here, but we're really starting to like evolve as filmmakers and actually put these things into our films.
Yeah, I think that's the theme of this project for me is I have all these skills and I've been able to apply them in various ways over the years, with my commercial work and with other film projects. But I feel like with this one specifically, everything that I've learned up to this point has been useful to me. And I feel like it's getting me far. And like I said, I'm shocked at how good some of these shots are coming out.
My challenge on this film has been the acting because I am acting in it. Surprise, I'm acting in a film that I wrote. And this really comes from, I think we did talk about like how to get a crew for your film, how to get a cast for your film. Nobody wants to get up at 1 a.m. to run around in the city except for my friends Roz and Patrick, who were amazing.
Just down for an adventure.
Yeah, nobody normally wants to do that, and it's really hard to get somebody to do that for an entire feature unless they really believe in the script. So I'm here already.
Yeah, to kind of add to that too, we're not just doing it just me and you, this whole project.
Yeah.
So there's kind of a compromise because it is a feature film, which is very long and very time consuming to make. And, we do have a cast for this film that are people that aren't us and aren't even necessarily people we know very well. But our strategy was, let's have you be the main character because you'll be in basically every single scene. And since I have access to you, pretty much as much access as I want, I mean, not quite, but more than I would get to anyone else.
Not quite. Sometimes I have a life that I live and conflicts.
Yeah, me too. Totally. No, but that's why we had you be the main character because you were the most accessible person. And that was the compromise to getting this film actually done.
Yeah.
So to solve the cast crew dilemma, like how do you find people for your projects? It was scaled down where we could, but we're going to have some bigger production days where we have operators running through the woods with real guns shooting a monster that looks really cool that we also filmed on day 4. So, there's different scales.
Yeah, there's different scales. And we shot for 12 hours? The last shoot? It was like almost 12 hours. We did take a break in the middle, but
we took several breaks, but I was with you for 12 hours.
Yeah, you were in my house for 12 hours suffering in the carpeted hellscape, I suppose.
I was fine for most of the day. I'm allergic to cats, which I didn't really learn until like a year or two ago.
Until I got a cat.
Well, I was affected by my parents' cat, but I didn't live at home when they got the cat, and so I didn't know why I would feel bad sometimes when I would go over. Turns out I'm allergic to cats. Didn't affect me for day 3 really, and nor did it affect me for day 4 up until like the end of the day. And I was like, you could tell.
You were like, hey, let's reset for this shot, and then you like start coughing.
Yeah. Well, I think the coughing was from the fog machine.
Oh yeah, we've been liberally using a fog machine.
Oh yeah.
Which
no regrets. I feel fine now.
I was freaking coughing from the fog machine.
Yeah.
It was bad, but we suffer for our art.
We do.
I'm sure that
I'm okay with that.
Shaved several years off my life. Poisonous fog.
Can you put a price on a beautiful film? Kind of.
About 2 years off my life. That's what. But no, my acting has been something I'm not necessarily secure in. It was one of those, you're in high school and you're like, what do I want to do with my life? It was definitely one of the career paths. And then I did a couple stints of just college, like musical theater. While I was still in high school, I would just go help out on these. And I'm like, uh-oh, I can't sing like that. And it definitely pushed me more towards writing, which is something I enjoy more anyway. I think I would be insufferable as a professional actor. I deserve to get hit. I know I deserve to get hit by a taxi in New York because it's my big break and I'd run into traffic. But I'm a diva enough as it is, so
that is true.
Writing is probably the better direction to go. That said, as I'm acting, it's still something I'm definitely like a little more insecure about, especially as we're going into a lot more like dialogue style challenges rather than before it's been very much like silent emoting.
For sure.
But you have like really directed me through some scenes where I was like, I'm kind of throwing whatever at the wall, and you're like, you're giving me too much. You can tell that I was trained in stage theater because I'm emoting with my face, and you're like, that's way too much. But with the micro expressions, you've been kind of coaching me along with what you want with that, and it's definitely been helping.
Yeah, good. I'm glad to hear
when
that.
it comes to inflection and interacting with other actors,
That's going to be a whole nother beast.
I'm very worried because I'm the face of this. You know, it's sort of like Tommy Wiseau out there, where it's the guy, you know, and he kind of made or broke that film, depending how you feel about his performance in The Room.
Yeah. Well, you know, don't put too much pressure on yourself. I think most of the film doesn't even have a lot of acting demands, I would say. There's definitely some scenes that are heavier than others, and a lot of them are yet to come across yet. You know what I'm saying? But
Yeah.
I think you've been doing a really good job. I think like you fit the film.
The main reason being I'm here and I wrote it.
Yeah. Hey, you could have thrown me in it.
Yeah, I could have. Then I would be running camera, which is I don't know
That's
if
the thing.
that's something we want to see for our first feature.
The last time I acted in one of our films, we had a friend who was the cinematographer for it, and that worked out really well. But I've really taken that responsibility in recent years, which I love. I prefer it more than acting.
It's something you're better at than I am.
Yeah, and you're better at writing than acting.
Yes.
But
split the difference here.
Yeah, right. I don't know. I'd be down to act in something, just as a side note.
I'm gonna weasel you into this film somewhere.
You want to so bad.
I'm gonna get you somewhere.
Just do it for good reasons. Like
I already have that good reason.
Yeah.
It's baked into the script.
The good reason is I decided so.
The good reason is I'm telling you, Zach.
I wouldn't be super opposed to being the stranger.
Okay.
But I don't know. I don't see myself as the stranger. That's the thing.
I will put an ex-military army jacket or army surplus. I'll put that on you.
Okay.
And we'll give you a funny hat, and there you go.
You have to sell me on it.
Yeah.
Mostly by just showing me how it's gonna be done, by showing me the costumes.
You're literally just sitting next to me on a park bench. It's not hard.
Okay. Yeah, why not? The two people responsible for 90% of this film project.
And we're also mimicking the end of Pi, which is something I wanted to do.
Good point.
I feel that the film is going really smoothly right now. Again, I've already knocked on wood. It's happened.
You've invoked the tree spirit.
Yes. Knock on wood. It's going well. I was much more intimidated at the beginning of this. I'm still very intimidated. There are extended sequences that we're going to have to shoot that going to be a lot of work. We'll be using blank rounds, and
that's going to be really cool. We're firing real guns. Luckily,
guns. They will be modified to fire blank rounds, but
they're as real as it gets, really.
Yeah. We will be firing things that actually make a flash and a bang, which is interesting.
Yeah.
Versus previously it was airsoft parts. There will be airsofts present for people who aren't firing, but real rounds, real blanks will be fired. There will be an actual in-camera flash, and
it's gonna be fun.
I'm sure we'll be able to use some of this audio from that too.
Maybe, depending on what it sounds like. I'm sure it's fairly realistic.
Yeah. I mean, that's what they did in Heat. Actually, was the gunshots like echoing off like the skyscrapers of Chicago. They actually put that in there because there's like no Foley sounds better than this.
Yeah, that makes sense. Well, I'll throw a mic on my camera. Yeah. I mean, I've been doing that anyway, but see if the scratch audio sounds any good.
Hopefully.
Yeah. Well, on another note, do you want to introduce our new podcast segment?
Yeah. This is Zach's Gear Corner.
Whoa.
Zach talks about gear. I don't have a name for it right now, but this is our gear segment, the gear segment, where Zach gets to tell us all about his favorite gear.
Yeah.
If I have favorite gear, I'll talk about it, but Final Draft is about all I have for filmmaking.
In a 2016 MacBook Pro.
Gosh. I'll run you through my Mac Studio when I buy that.
Or Mac Mini.
Oh, gosh. That'll be a whole episode about the best filmmaking computer.
I'm trying to sell him on something cheaper than what he's looking for. A $4,000. It's not just any Mac Studio.
I'm not even going to get the $4,000. I'm getting like the $2,000.
At that point.
Here we go.
Too much to go into. Too much to go into. But yeah.
Well, Zach, tell us about your gear for the week.
Since we've been talking about the feature film, the only gear I've been using this week is gear that I've been using on this project. And my strategy for this project has been to run as light and just run as the simplest gear that I possibly can, because I need it to stay out of the way so I can focus on sequencing shots, lighting them, and directing them. Those are the three most important things for this feature film project.
Because you're not just DP, you're also camera op, you're also director, you're doing all these, you're juggling all these things, your key grip,
right?
All of that.
And I'm fine with stripping back in order to like achieve those higher priorities. But
you should light it like pie. I'm sure that'll take some load off your plate.
I mean, in some ways we are, but just it's exposed properly. I don't know if people are going to love me or hate me for that.
I don't know how many people have seen Darren Aronofsky's like 1990, was it like a 97, 98 film?
It's an amazing film.
It's a great film.
It's
his first movie too, his first feature.
Yeah. It's very good. It's, dare I say, profound.
I would date it.
It's a profound film. It's very good. But all that to say, like, I can't be fuffing about with gear, right? I can't, I have a pretty decent camera rig for my Panasonic S5, which I'm using to shoot this project, but I am using just the camera pretty much by itself with a top handle. I've left the 15 millimeter rods at home. I've left the
all you have really is like the handle and the mic.
That's it. Yeah. And two lenses. The two lenses I'm using are the Nikon 20 to 35 millimeter f2.8, which is it's an AFD lens that came out in, I think, the early 2000s or late 90s. So it's relatively vintage, but it's a zoom lens. That's my main lens. The Panasonic S5 is full frame, so 20 millimeters full frame, 35 millimeters full frame, pretty standard focal lengths. 20 is a bit on the wide end, but 35 is pretty standard. So that's the main lens I'm running. And then for all of my detail shots and close-ups and inserts, I'm using the Nikon AIS 50 millimeter f1.4, which is wonderfully sharp. I mean, gorgeous lens. I've really enjoyed working with that. And so, yeah, basically, I don't have to think about lenses too much for this project. It's basically just, is this a wide shot? Use the 20 to 35. Is this a detail shot? Use the 50. And I don't have to think about it beyond that. So that's just one way I'm simplifying the gear process to simplify my the decisions I have to make on set.
What I'm hearing is that you've done the Hi8 camera treatment, the simplicity of the Hi8 camera, but scaled it to a full feature project that you need a little more for. But you've taken, what I'm feeling is you've taken the ethos of just something I can shoot with so that you can focus on shooting. And
in a way,
move that over to our feature.
In a way, it's hard to compare like an interchangeable lens camera with the Hi8, because the Hi8 covers like every focal length, so I don't have to swap lenses. It's just got all of them. So the Hi8 is even more convenient.
Hi8 lens aside, it allows you to be a little more precise than.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
The ethos is there, is my point.
Yeah, in a sense where it's, I don't want the gear to take up too much of my attention, and so. Like I was saying, 15 millimeter rods left at home, V-mount battery left at home.
I will miss the V-mount battery. It was very cool.
It is cool. I'll bring it around just to charge my phone if I need to, but or the camera batteries in another room.
A mascot.
Yeah. A what?
A mascot.
The V-mount is our.
Yeah, it's our mascot. Bring it for good luck to each film.
Okay, well, what should we name our V-mount battery mascot?
Vinny.
Yeah, Vinny the V-mount.
Yeah, it's there. Well, this has been Zach Talks About Gear. Mateo's also there, the segment.
Yeah.
One final question, kind of we're wrapping up the show now.
Yeah.
What scares you about like the other half of the film? Because we've basically shot half a feature right now. So
yeah. So my answer to this has actually changed. Originally, it was going to be finding actors. But I feel like
no, that still scares me. But go on.
Fair enough. Finding actors is something that scares me. We've had some submissions, and I'm really excited.
A lot of returning faces, which I'm happy.
Yeah,
I'm happy to see
cool.
people that are like, "Hey, I want to do another film with you." After doing one,
I was surprised by that too, because the whole point of our last like big production, which was Bleeding Heart Routine, we've done a lot of stuff since then, but Bleeding Heart Routine, we
wanted to make a standard film.
We produced it like a standard film, and that's a whole separate topic, which we've also gotten into before. But
check our backlog for that.
Yeah, but we produced it very traditionally, had done the casting call to the talent agency, and we're very professional about it. And in doing a standard film, we wanted to build rapport with people, and so it's cool to see that paying off now.
Yeah. It's definitely, I'm like, oh, okay. Like, you weren't just like, oh, geez, these kids, get me out of here as fast as possible.
Right. But that being said, you know, we don't have enough submissions yet to fill all of the roles.
No,
and we definitely aren't choosing between people because we don't have that luxury yet. And so it's still a need that needs to be filled for sure. And
which is what scares me, because I'm trying to get the best possible people for the role, who want
Like
to do it
yourself.
for, geez. I'm doing it for negative pay. I'm spending money on things.
yeah. Hey, time is money. So
Time is also money. So I'm spending so much, everything on these
you're
things.
invested, bro.
Yeah, I'm over leveraged is what I'm upside down in this project. No, what really scares me is just there are a lot of things on this project that Zach can't produce. You just can't, right? You're DP, you are key grip, you are camera op, you're directing.
Soon to be sound guy too.
Soon to be sound guy. On top of just like all the editing and the color grade, like you are basically in an entire post-production film studio, and about, I would say, 5/8 of just like current production studio. You're a one-man show, and I'm helping the best I can, but I'm also acting, and I'm having to play producer a lot. So I'm writing a lot of blurbs. I'm writing to talent agencies, etc., which no biggie. I'm happy to help where I can. But I'm also acting. So when it comes down to like multi-actor things where I'm having to coordinate people to a location that's kind of out there that people get lost going to, and then like having to coordinate feeding people and all of that, it gets a little dicier, which, I'm happy to help, but it's definitely some of the more logistics heavy stuff that's to come. I'm worried about.
Yeah. And also like producing is a different mindset from acting completely.
Yeah. Like I'm having to like memorize lines, which is something I haven't done in 3 years. So yeah, I'm really good at memorizing lines. And then like after I've finished the production, just completely forgetting them. So I have that rewritable memory space there.
You know, I have a strategy for that. If we can devote a couple days to just rehearsing the lines, I can have you over, or you can have me over, and then we watch a movie afterwards.
Exactly.
And if we can just hammer the inflections and just the tone and get your lines down, when we're on set, I can focus more on the other actor instead of focusing on both. And that might help me a little bit, but also give you more confidence leading up to the shoot day. I don't know.
Yeah.
Something to think
this
about.
Is also the point where I find flaws in my dialogue and I get to cringe about that because I wrote it. But just all of that is like very intimidating because again, we're through half of the film, and in many ways we've done some of the more difficult parts of the film.
Yeah, in some ways.
In other ways, we're shooting blanks at a creature, and we only have so many blanks, and we're puppeting the creature through the woods.
Yeah, this is not a simple film project.
It's not a simple film project.
Like the challenges are found on every level. Like, you say like we filmed some of the hardest things already, and it's like in some ways I see what you're saying, but then it's like, well, these other scenes are hard for completely different reasons.
For all these reasons. We're filming in a hot garage.
Oh boy.
Upcoming.
That'll be okay.
That'll be fine. It'll be, can I nail my line placement and or is the line placement just fine so that we can
go inside?
Yeah, go inside, go to the next one, get some ice water, etc., etc. On top of filming in a residential neighborhood where people are always making noise and driving past with cars.
That is true.
The cars shouldn't be an issue since we're filming a garage. So,
and there's a lot of things in your garage to break up the sound.
Yeah. And we're filming outside the garage. So it is what it is. As long as the music people are bumping as they roll down the street isn't copyrighted, I think we'll be all right.
I wouldn't leave that in the film anyway.
Yeah. I don't know. Add flavor.
Yeah. We should put a curtain in front of your garage door.
Definitely.
That'll
definitely turn the whole place into just
It'll be hot. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, there's no windows. Bummer.
Yeah, there's no windows.
It'll be
toasty.
It'll be Brothers Bunker all over again.
Oh geez, don't remind me.
Black curtain, shed. It's basically the same project.
I will say one thing I'm not scared of, and I'll level this question to you after. Like, what are you not scared of? But one thing I'm not scared of is burning out.
Whoa, really?
Yeah, I was really afraid that I was going to burn out.
So what does that mean? Like that we wouldn't finish it because of it, or?
I don't
Or
know
you would
about
just
not
be
finished,
exhausted.
but I would just be like, I never want to make a film again, and then we'll go another 2 years before we make a serious project because I just need that time to recover. But
the good old 2-year recovery cycle.
again, I've been working 12-hour days at work and then immediately going like into shoot days. But
Or coming here to shoot a podcast.
yeah, end of June, that was when we were ramping up pre-production, and you would put out like a 4-day shoot schedule, like 4 days a week. And I was like, I just can't do that because we were supposed to be allegedly done by today, under the initial, let's get it all done in the month of July, which is really doable, except, again, I'm working 12-hour days at work. We can't just shoot whenever. Also, actors have jobs because we're not paying them. They're doing this out of the goodness of their heart. Our crew mostly has jobs. Not all of our crew has jobs, but many of our crew have jobs. And we need multiple people to puppet the puppet through the woods.
Right.
We need multiple people to puppet the puppet through the house, frankly, but it is what it is. And I was like, man, I'm going to burn out being actor, producer, script super, etc. All through this is going to be really bad. And then it really, I feel we've hit a good groove. We've been doing basically 2 shoot days a week, which is respectable. Very much more of the elephant chewing away at things, one bite at a time. That's how you eat an elephant or a rhinoceros or a hippo.
Yeah.
Large mammalian creature.
I got you.
But we've been taking that approach, plugging away at it. There's been days where, for example, we weren't supposed to shoot the creature on day 4.
Yeah.
We have a big puppet monster thing that we've got going on. But Roz had finished creating it and we're like, hey, can you make it? And she popped over. And
can you come over? Can we shoot those scenes now?
Yeah. And we knocked it out in a few hours.
Yeah. It was a good amount of time.
Yeah.
Still.
It was very warm under there. And it was very warm in my jumpsuit, actually. I gave myself an upper body workout crawling across the floor using just my arms over and over and over again. But we got it done, and we didn't get that. There's a thing that'll happen where you'll be on set and you're so tired and you're grumpy and you just want the day to be over, that a little aggression kicks in. And this is generally on film sets where somebody gets pissed off and is like, I need to take a break, or whatever. But we didn't really have that.
We're like, hey, after this scene, can we take a break?
Yeah,
or I'm like, Mateo, can I take a water break?
And you're like, use the restroom, whatever. We've been very I think the lack of urgency in a way. There's still an urgency, but there's on days that it's just today just does not work to shoot. We've been okay with saying we're not going to shoot today, rather than pushing it and putting out maybe subpar product because. We're just wasting time on the setup at this point because we'll get 2 shots and then maybe 2 burnt out. And I was really afraid of being burnt out at the beginning because I was already burnt out with my own stuff. And frankly, I'm still burnt out at work, just plugging away on all this crazy stuff. But at least I'm not being extra burnt out by this production. I feel like we're handling it in a very healthy way.
Good. Yeah, because I was scared when we were starting the project because I was like, I almost felt guilty in a way. I was like, okay, I don't want to make Mateo do something he doesn't want to do. And if he's dreading this project because of...
which I was a little bit because I was like, we got to finish this in July.
And I was just like, oh man, I mean, I don't want this to be awful for someone else. So I'm glad to hear that it's you think it's going smoothly and it's relaxed.
Definitely. We shot Saturday and I was completely worn out Sunday. I was useless.
Yeah. I got a sunburn Sunday. I was just relaxing. It was a good rest day.
Congratulations on your sunburn.
Thank you.
But I was not burnt out. And so I'm not at our current pace. And as long as something crazy doesn't happen, I'm gonna move. So we won't have the house for whatever time, unless some random deadline where we just really need a crank on it happens. I'm at our current pace.
The final push.
At our current pace, I feel very confident in pulling this out without being completely burnt out and, being like, I don't need to be on a film set for another 6 months just to survive.
Good. Me, on the other hand, with I'm really worried about how it's going to come together in the edit.
Okay.
This was the second part of my what scares me about this project because we get our actors, we film the scenes, everything's great, but I'm just so worried about how the shots are going to cut together in the edit, I know it's going to be fine. I know it's going to be great. You know, the results we've been getting, the shots themselves are beautiful, and like
the dailies have been looking good.
Yeah, well, the daily screenshots that I send him that are loosely color graded, but it's black and white, so it's doesn't take too much effort, just midtones and anyways. But yeah, I think it'll be fine. I won't be able to rest until I have like a rough cut, and I'm like, okay, it's not gonna feel like a film until I get that.
This is something that doing lots of short films has spoiled you on, because you can get a rough cut for a short film to get it really fast, and this is a very short feature, bridging on like very long short film, but it's definitely a different scale. We could have shot, I would say probably 3 short films with the footage we have now.
Oh God, yeah.
We could do like 9 microfilms.
I think I have 4 hours worth of footage so far, which is not like excessive, but
we do have a lean shoot style though, so that's saying something.
It is, for sure.
So that's what you're scared of. What are you not scared of?
What am I not scared of?
Coming up.
That's tough.
What are you looking forward to?
I'm looking forward to the wood scenes.
Okay.
I think they're going to be fun. I am a little scared about those because I need to bring a generator and coordinate that. Definitely get help carrying it because it's like over 100 pounds.
That's definitely for those scenes. I'm not in any. I'm in the field scene, but I'm basically not in those scenes.
So you will be not key grip, but you will help me move a generator multiple times.
I will be producer. I will be able to focus fully on producing and catering to everybody and making sure the shoot goes smoothly, which it'll have to because I'm doing in the woods in my parents' backyard, basically. There's a lot going there.
Yeah. I guess the thing I'm worried about is things cutting together. The wood scenes I'm very much looking forward to because in my head it looks great. And because we've gotten such good results already, I'm like, well, this will be good too.
Yeah.
You know, that's not necessarily the case, but I mean, I feel like I've really leveled up and I'm really confident, you know, not to just toot my own horn, but I mean, what is this podcast if one of us doesn't toot their own horn at least one time?
We've got to toot the horns here.
But it'll be good. I think we're gonna make a good film. That's the thing I'm not worried about. I know it's gonna be a great film no matter what. I know I can put together a good film with just the footage we have. We're not going to.
No.
But it'll be good no matter what happens. And that's it.
Well, if you do want to see behind the scenes video, Zach has a good, it's like 3-part now, right? About to be
part 3. Yeah, about to be. By the time you see this, part 3 will be out.
But a 3-part, like really good behind the scenes video series where he's like walking us through his process. I'm not walking you through the process there yet, but
too busy acting.
Yeah, I'm too busy acting, and you know my process is Zach told me to make a micro expression, so I did that. Maybe I'll do a script breakdown. Maybe we can do a script breakdown video.
I would love to do that. That would be sick.
But you can find that on Zach's channel.
Yeah, I'll link those videos in the description. They've been getting pretty good engagement. So if you watch,
pretty good videos. I enjoyed them.
Yeah, thank you. So if you end up watching those and you think it would be more interesting to hear both of us talk about behind the scenes stuff, we've kicked around the idea of posting that format on this channel as well.
Yeah, do a bit of a breakdown.
Yeah, like scene breakdowns where we're both talking about the film instead of just me because it's my channel or whatever. Although you should be a guest.
I should be a guest on your channel.
It just feels indulgent. It feels like a lot to ask. Like, hey, can you come help me film a YouTube video for my channel? Like, but if you're down,
hey, I'm down. Be pretty dope. Always down.
Sick.
If you want a video on what a standard film is and why Zach grimaced so hard when I mentioned it just a bit ago, there's also there's the backlog of this Your Next Film.
Yeah, what episode? We need to plug the episode.
We'll put the episode somewhere up in the corner or wherever the YouTube
this is bugging me. I like barely remember this episode. So what happens when you're a long-term podcaster and you have tons of episodes? Not like it feels that way.
We're gonna start doing seasons to the podcast. That's what we'll do.
Hey, that'll be cool.
But we'll put the video link in the description or wherever.
Wait a second.
Down here.
Right here. Nerd, it's right here.
I don't know. I don't watch enough YouTube for that.
I do. Jeez.
I'm watching real films like Pi.
You are. That is the one. Yeah, you do.
And Hundreds of Beavers. Watch Hundreds of Beavers.
Yeah, you've earned that. Yeah.
But with all that to say, we hope you enjoyed a fun little discussion on what it's like to shoot half of a feature.
If you have any questions about what it's like shooting a feature film or how
if you have any experience, if there's any tips that you're like screaming through your monitor, like, no, you idiots, you need to be doing this, please put them down in the comments. This is an open discussion where like we appreciate your input. So
the comment section is your domain to just run wild in. Have a ball.
I'll also run wild in there too. We'll frolic through the comments together.
Sounds like a good time.
With all that said, thank you for listening. We appreciate it. We hope that you again garnered something good from this. I've been Mateo Guthrie.
And I've been Zachary Koch.
And this has been
Your next film. Go out and make a movie.
Hey, that's my line.